Well, hello and welcome to the Regional Spotlight video series brought to you by the University of Saskatchewan Pathways to Equity Research Team. I am the student assistant working with this team. My name is Sydney Boulton, and today we're going to be talking with Leigh Landry from the Nipawin Oasis Center. Leigh, do you want to quickly introduce yourself?
I'm Leigh Landry. I'm the Homeless and Housing Coordinator for the Nipawin Oasis. Yeah.
Thank you so much for meeting with me today. We are hosting a workshop on Friday, November 19th, and we're hoping that this discussion can help inform some of the things that happen on that day. The goal of the workshop is to generate some new ideas about research and homelessness and to foster some new partnerships between community members and community organizations and the university's research committee or research teams. So the first question we have is, can you tell us about the work that you do and how it is connected to issues of housing insecurity and homelessness?
So here at the Nipawin Oasis, we are working very hard in our community to help alleviate homelessness. Since I started my position here just over a year ago, I have encountered over 300 homeless in our community. And it's kind of a hidden problem here because there's lots of couch surfing and it's not necessarily right on the street. So some of the things that our program that we run here is we're helping to build relationships in our community with our affordable housing providers and develop those landlord relations with the people who are being housed. We're also improving access to housing. So we do have a landlord list for our local private landlords here in town that we supply people with so that they're able to call around and see what housing is available. We do a supportive housing kind of model where we're teaching budgeting. When we do get people housed, we supply people with emergent needs. So that can be anything from furniture to bedding to towels. A lot of people are coming and they're just starting out, so they don't have those items. And those items are donated to us, usually mostly donated by people in our community and us reaching out and asking the community for help. And then getting people ID. A lot of people who we're encountering, they don't have any form of ID. So they're not able to apply for social assistance. They're not able to get a bank account. So the ID is the first step, and then helping them go through the process of applying for social assistance, obtaining a bank account so that they can receive their social assistance. The list goes on and on. We're working really hard to try to get people housed. I think this summer we were working tirelessly preparing for winter and knowing that the homeless population in our community could possibly not have anywhere but the streets come winter. So we do quite a bit of intervention. And then we also have a family support program here, and we kind of work hand in hand. So if it is a homeless family, then we provide supports to them through our family support program as well.
What are some of the challenges that you face in your work or in your community?
Well, the challenges are quite a few. The rate of unemployment, people being incarcerated and then being released to homelessness from incarceration. And sometimes that happens as well if they're coming out of a treatment facility. No identification. If they had a previous tenancy where it was a poor tenancy, so if there was any damages to the units or anything like that, rehousing them can sometimes be very difficult. If they have had utilities in their name before, or family members have used their name to put utilities on in a home, they have huge arrears, which once that happens, it's very difficult to get yourself out of that hole. In most places, you need to be able to have the utilities in your name and prove that you can do that before a lease will be signed. Not receiving enough income, we have a new social assistance program here that everybody's kind of been transitioned over to in the last few months that we're just seeing is posing a lot of problems. People who were receiving CERB, maybe when they shouldn't have been, has caused some financial stress as well. Single parent families, isolation, not having enough supports in the community to help bridge them into housing of their own, addictions, mental health issues that we're seeing definitely increasing in our community. Poor nutrition, not attending school or any kind of education programs, low literacy, and also in our community, we do see people being left out. And racism does play a part in that in our community, unfortunately. And yeah, those are some of the biggest challenges that we're noticing.
Do you notice any challenges that are coming specifically from being a bit of a smaller city or from being a little bit more remote, a little bit more northern? Or do you think these are problems that all cities in Saskatchewan are facing?
I think that these are problems that all cities and communities are facing. I think when it comes to being a little more rural and remote, we don't have as many services for people to access. There's a lack of services. We don't have shelters. We don't have treatment facilities. You know, we don't really have those types of things that the bigger cities have. So we're doing a lot of work and it's difficult to refer out. So our caseloads are very, very high. And, you know, as well, transportation poses a problem for people to get around, to gain employment if you don't have a vehicle. You know, there's a lot of things that kind of being here. And also we have 3 neighboring communities. So we have Cumberland House, Shoal Lake, and Red Earth as well. So people are in transient and we're kind of, Nipawin is the hub for everybody. So people coming here to go to school, seeking employment, you know, wanting to be where more family is possibly, and to be able to get those services. So it's, you know, having a look to see what types of services are available in those communities and how can we get more.
What are some of the successes that you've been able to see in your work?
In the past year and a half, we have applied for grants and funding, and the Nipawin Oasis now owns 6 homes in town. So that has been a huge success for us. We've been able to house families who otherwise would not have had access to affordable housing, whether that be from poor tenancy, utilities not being in their name. So that for us is a huge success. 2 summers ago, we had a couple of single gentlemen come to us who were homeless and they were on the street, no family support, were in very rough shape with addictions, mental health. And we have since been able to house them. They are doing wonderful with the supports that we're able to give. We've been able to make sure that they can continue to keep their housing. We've noticed some harm reduction as far as their use with their addictions has lessened. They have a place to go. They take pride in their home. And it also allows for us to provide those services because we know where to find them, right? It's more difficult to deliver services when somebody's constantly, you know, all over the place or surfing. It can be really difficult to provide those supports and services. So that was a huge success for us. And we're going to hopefully continue to have more in the future.
Great. Is there a single issue that is impacting people in your community the most right now?
In regards to homelessness,
Yeah.
I think addictions and mental health. I think we have seen a rise in addictions, especially with meth. There have been some cases where a new fentanyl has been introduced in our community as well. That is very dangerous. Mental health, and sometimes not having the best setup for people to be able to access those supports that are in place. Like I said, because we are a small community, we don't have a treatment center. We don't have that. We do work closely with our mental health and addictions counselors here who are located in our hospital, and have since been getting them to come here to provide those counseling services for some of our very high risk individuals, just because it's a little more of a comfortable space for them. Sometimes accessing government buildings is not comfortable for people. They don't want to for people to see them going in there. They just don't feel comfortable with going in there. Not very trusting sometimes, where this is a safe environment for participants, and it's kind of easier for them or more appealing for them to come and access those services here. So I think that is something that I'd like to see addressed in our community. Because if people aren't accessing the services, then they're not benefiting at all, right? And the problem still remains the same. So mental health and addictions are a huge obstacle in our community right now.
The last question that we have for you is, what do you want researchers to know about housing insecurity and homelessness in your community?
I think we touched on all of that over the last few questions. We want people to know that it is a real issue. And we're seeing, families who really want to have their own space and their own home for their children. And in our community, about 95% of the people that we're interacting with and who are participating in our program here at the Oasis are Indigenous. So we're looking at some larger families, and we want to see inclusiveness. We want to see our community embracing everybody and giving equal opportunity to everybody in our community. And yeah, I think we just want to stop some of the oppression, the addictions, address the mental health issues, and help get people to where they need to be. And I think housing is the number one priority, and it should be. We live in Canada. There is no reason why we should have people sleeping on our streets. There is no reason at all.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining us today. This was the Pathways to Equity Regional Spotlight video series. I want to give one last thank you to Leigh Landry for joining us from the Nipawin Oasis Center. Your comments were extremely valuable, and I hope that they can answer some of the questions people have attending this workshop about homelessness and housing in Saskatchewan.